So, Black Adam is now out in theaters and IMAX screens alike, and if you want to know whether or not you should check out this new DC movie on the big screen, well, stay tuned. So let's get into it. Hello friends, and welcome back to the Brockopp side, a place to live talking by movies. And real quick, if you guys have seen this movie, go ahead and comment down below what your experience checking the movie out was. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did you see it in a big format? Are you waiting to see my thoughts? Well, if that's the case, let's start talking about the movie. And much like I said back in my quick review from Wednesday night, this movie is equal parts clunky and absolutely badass. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson totally owns the role of Black Adam. You can definitely tell he was perfect for the role because he just brings this physical presence, smashing through walls, flying through the sky, beating up giant demons and stuff. It's just nice he finally got to play the role considering he's been cast as Black Adam for about, what, 15 years now? But you also get the Justice Society as well, and they all have their time to shine throughout this movie. My favorite is definitely Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. He brings this great blend of eloquence and sarcasm. The movie is also filled with plenty of fun and slightly gory action scenes as well. Nothing too gratuitous to the point it would get an R rating, but you do see stuff like Black Adam throw a dude across a temple and his arm is just left over and just turning people into skeletons with lightning and stuff. The movie also explores more the mythic side of the DC universe, much like we got from Shazam, so it's got some excellent world building in there as well. But on the flip side of all of that, the movie does feel a lot like an early 2000s comic book movie, for better or for worse, what with an extremely half-baked villain, some inconsistent pacing that feels like it's just kind of rushing through everything, as well as a little bit of questionable CGI to top it all off. Black Adam is definitely not a perfect movie, but is still a really good time. But of course, don't just take my opinion as fact or law or whatever. If you have the means, go out and see it for yourself. But if you are curious about checking the movie out and you're not sure if you want to spend the extra money to see it in IMAX, well, let's start talking about the IMAX experience. Now, one thing that is important when talking about a movie in IMAX is whether or not the movie was shot on IMAX film or not. It is of course extremely rare for a movie to be shot completely on 70mm film like this. It's usually reserved for the big set pieces throughout the movie, which is where you get those change in aspect ratios. So with that in mind, was Black Adam shot in IMAX whatsoever? No, which basically means the movie is locked down to one aspect ratio throughout the entire movie, so it doesn't take full advantage of the complete IMAX screen, which can be a little disappointing at times. However, this is a giant $200 million summer blockbuster that's coming out in October, so I'm not quite sure why I said summer. From a visual standpoint, the movie is a lot of fun to look at, whether you're talking about like the dark, dusty skies or Dwayne Johnson shooting lightning everywhere. So even though the movie was not filmed at all on IMAX cameras, it is still cool to see a big visual spectacle like this on the biggest screen you can find. Especially the final battle, which is just pure euphoria and adrenaline combined. It's something that I think will make a lot of comic book fans happy when they see it. Plus, there is also the post-credit scene, which we will talk about a little bit later. And something that's a staple with pretty much every DC movie is an incredible soundtrack, and composer Lorne Balfe definitely delivers the goods with this one. If you haven't heard already, go listen to a couple of tracks on YouTube or Spotify, whatever, and then go and see him in IMAX, and it's just going to be amplified to 11. Now, with a big movie like this, part of the experience of seeing a movie like this, in my opinion, is getting to see it opening night or opening weekend with a packed audience, and well, this time it wasn't quite that same thing. There were a decent amount of people in the theater, but definitely not as packed as a movie like this should be. I think that's just simply because not many people are interested in this movie. The marketing was just not doing enough for it. Now, with that being said, there is still the post-credit scene that pretty much everybody's been talking about, which, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it for you here, even though the internet did that like 2 weeks ago. So without getting into extreme detail, both times I saw this movie at the advanced screening Wednesday night and the IMAX showing last night, the audience went absolutely wild. It's definitely one of those times where seeing this certain post-credit scene with this certain character on a giant IMAX screen surrounded by people was definitely the way to check it out. That's all I'm gonna say about it. So overall, Black Adam is not the best DC movie this year or of all time by any means. However, I think it's still a lot of fun and it's just a generally good time at the movies. I kind of hope this movie will kind of pick up a little bit by a little word of mouth. So as far as the movie itself goes, I'm gonna give Black Adam a silver unboxing machete. And for the IMAX experience, I'm gonna give that a gold unboxing machete. So those are my thoughts on Black Adam in IMAX. If you want to see how some other movies this year look in IMAX, I got a playlist for that right over here. Otherwise, subscribe if you live talking by movies, and we'll see you on the Brockopp side.